So thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. Talk a little bit about visualization. You probably think, oh, this is all the marketing stuff. Actually, I started with Creo 10 or Pro Engineer 10, or if you can remember that, and ended up in Creo 7. So it's a little bit of a history, and I think I can talk or know very well what this is all about. We have a lot of similarities, actually. We're talking about a digital twin as well. We're talking about the digital thread. It's all the same thing, but on the visual end. And that's something maybe you do not cover yet. So let's go in there. We are talking about designing the world. This is actually what Keyshot does. Probably you saw today a lot of companies and products that's already using Keyshot. Tonight will be a big presentation of a big brand. You probably know these are maybe using our software as well. So not to mention these companies. And even your stuff I'm wearing right now, they're all using Keyshot and to visualize the products. And you do not even recognize anymore that this is not pictures anymore. This is just rendered up front. So let's look a little bit what we can do. So the question is always why? It's about precise communication, because this is the part you're missing. If you see all the CAD data now on the screen, you understand them. Outside of the room, most of your stakeholders don't. And even the end customer do not understand this kind of CAD system. 2D drawing, obvious. 3D models, even that, probably not. So we can do a lot of things, actually. We can do material simulation even, we can do light simulation, we can have parallel processing, like documentation. You probably never thought about us in the documentation part, and all the typical savings you have as well, like time, material, environment, money, all that stuff. Typical demand you have, in the old days you had something like that, in the 80s, 2023 and so on, the demand of visuals is extremely exploded. This is why we just did an acquisition a few months back. You have 3D today, you have 3D content, you have animations, you have videos, you have documentation, all that needs to be shipped. Old way, I still know how to do that. I have learned that. And today, this is how you should communicate, because people can understand. Pictures worth 1,000 words. So, and we have increasing challenges, like funny-wise for us, the pandemic was amazing, because everybody needed to communicate very precise across the border. They couldn't go there anymore, especially the fashion industry. And in addition to that, looks like we are the engineer's best friend. So this is roughly the numbers we have, and now we have the numbers of the increasing. So that's a little bit a show-off number, actually, if the percentage would be correct. Last year we had roughly 32% growth rate. This year, until now, we have 34% growth rate. It's not that we existed since yesterday, we existed in 20 years. We say at the moment it's a decade of visualization, because everybody needs to communicate precise and avoid the imagination gap. So we are not only making picture and animations, we have a web interface, so we can choose from there. We have a VR interface with one click, we can stream, and we can even 3D print. And this is something probably you are not aware of, that we can do this very, very precisely. So this is digital to physical. And if I put my piece out here, this is 3D printed. And the only thing you can do at the moment is not with a CAD product, because you have the cloudiness, you have the colors, you have a lot of details. This is something you really, really need to have precise colors and even roughness. So we can put in a 2D texture and we get a 3D roughness without doing anything, without modeling anything. Replacement parts. Even something like that, 500,000 colors precise. So this is our physical area. So what else we can do? Oh, by the way, this is what I already mentioned, because at the moment, it's getting more and more a visualization industry. So you're creating machines like we saw Liebherr and other customers, they're creating thousands and thousands of pictures every month. We have the same challenge like PTC had many years back. Now we have to make sure we communicate precisely who is allowed to use them, who is able to spread them. So this is why we bought a digital asset management system. So you can, create something, you have to manage something, you have to distribute something. Similar like with Windchill, you have to take care about your data. Same thing. Now this is something if you approach my booth, I will ask you all these things, but this is all the stuff we can do for you. Production time costs and time-costly logistic waste, all these things can be avoided. And even physical things like distances, sensor, glasses. A good example here is Liebherr. If they have a very critical environment, like blades, something cutting, chopping, you cannot just go in there and have the camera in there. It's too dangerous. So what they're doing basically is make a rendering. It's much easier. They can do it all the time of winter or summer with all the customization variations we can have. This is one of the best things, actually, I think, is for engineering. It connects ideas with people. You can read that. It's a car, has a certain color and so on. If I add one color, that's perfect. If I add a second color, not bad at all. But hopefully it runs. But I can add all colors. So there is no information gap anymore. It's exactly how it looks like. The simulation of material is so precise. You can even, use nanometers on reflections to avoid, for example, a reflection. And if you want to talk to your customers, you need this kind of offerings. And you need something like that. They want to have a configuration, because if you send it back, it's a problem. Because it's, you have a lot of waste, you have a lot of people who are frustrated, and you can take it even further because you had now all the configurations on the beginning on the first shot. They forgot the wall. And the wall has an extremely influence on the configuration of the parts. It's amazing, but this is something you can solve as well. For engineering, we're very early in the engineering process. So prototypes, configuration variants, operation manual, documentation, all these things runs in parallel. So a lot of our customers already have their final visualization for the box the product goes in. And even, can do advertising, doing optical simulations, how much light, how much power I really need to have to, light the product, or LED is showing, something like that. We can 3D print, light tests, exhibition. So something like that could be this. So I have a lot of examples, actually. And there's no words needed to explain, what happens here. Something like that, even more, even a little bit more sound, or a little bit of therapy. Now we have sound, thank you. If you look at animations like that, nothing of that is real anymore. And you consume it every day, but you do not recognize that's possible. And by the way, we are not specialists. This is done in engineering very often, because they have the 3D data. And they're using it to communicate with the stakeholders. So that's the nice portion of it. How complicated is it? Oh wow, it's incredibly complicated. You can always reach out to get license for 15 days. You basically drag and drop it. And what you can see here is a hardware you already own. You just take the lighting environment, you just choose your material, and then it gets automatically added to the system. You can even use humans if needed, because they're quite easy today to animate. You just buy one. Sounds a little bit crazy, like slavery. Then you say, what should I do? Should I dance? By the way, you can drag and drop, walk, dance, jump. It doesn't matter. You can even combine it, and then you just drag and drop it in the Keyshot, and then you have something like that. We have a Creo plugin since day one. Even, by the way, if you're already a Creo user, the rendering system is part of our technology. So you already have a little bit of Keyshot inside, not as much as you can see here. But if you want to do something like that, like color assignment, NURBS and all this stuff, plugin updating, it's already there. And once again, you can just use it again. KeyVR is our VR solution. You will see it in a second as well. If you have a Kinematic, it's just one click and you have the Kinematic in VR, which is normally very, very challenging. Operation manual, I don't speak your language, but after that, you can disassemble or fold that thing together. Even if I don't speak the language, you just, you watch video, what you always do. This is like humans learn from humans. You just watch how things are done. And that's a much easier way to communicate. And by the way, young people, 20, 30 years age, they're used to that kind of communication. They can't read drawings anymore. They have not the imagination. Like when I was teaching a 4-stroke engine, they gave me 4 pictures when I was young, 200 years ago. So, today they could just get everything all fully automated. A 3D cut is a typical engineering thing we can do. Brand neutral stuff. Here it's about the Leica GPS system. The truck doesn't exist even. It's just a general truck. Everybody believes that's a truck. The thing never existed. It's not a brand. It's just a copy. Marketing, obviously we're doing marketing. Are we doing sometimes really cool marketing? This stuff is not built. We see it very, very, very early before it is built. Cutting out the imagination, because that stuff costs millions and you cannot say, hey, let's produce 5. No, they probably produce 5, but over the full lifetime. Visual challenges. I just, wrote it. You can, daylight simulation, even something picture like that, you can't do. That's not possible. You cannot do this as photography. And if you're building already products, why not build a whole world? Because this is like the world looked before, the simple car, and then we just say, hey, there could be a complete house like here, and even, a lot of details in addition, if you want to. So this is not a big challenge, and all the details are perfect. If you talk to a photographer, this is what they Photoshop out. Oh, the tires are dirty. Oh, we have to clean the car. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, we have a cloud in front of the sun. It doesn't matter. We don't care. Could be winter. If you have complex geometry to generate in Keyshot, sometimes it's a lot of work to do. If you have a mesh like that, it's a 3-dimensional weaving. In Keyshot, it's a 2D texture. You just hit do weaving. How does it look like? You have seen, hopefully, the change from here to a flat to a 3D. It's because we can simulate clothes. We can do an obvious complex material. This is a 3D thing. And here we have the animations. You can really see, you can look inside of that. And this is just make weaving, because we are used to a complex geometry. You see now the jumping loudspeaker on the top. You can put 3D models outside of Keyshot and PowerPoint. That's a default functionality, by the way, in PowerPoint since, I think, 5-6 years now. That didn't jump, sorry. Maybe going back and hopefully it will. No, it doesn't work. So stuff like that. These are flat geometries, by the way. We just added knitting details, fine little hairs. This is something we can do because sometimes we need fur, right, in our animation time. So we just let something growing. We need grass, not a big deal. We can even have green grass, brown grass, high grass, low grass. We don't care. Important of mass customization. Big thing. PTC had the same. They're talking about how you can create thousands and thousands of pictures. You could script, for example. You have pipelining. We have customers that really do their configuration in Winchell. They adding the configuration there. Hit the execute button. It's generated in Creo. And then it takes the geometry, go over to Keyshot, collecting the material, sending out the pictures, and that ends up on a website. Fully automated, built in Winchell. And the pictures are precise. So what else do we have? A lot of configurations up here, so no imagination needed, very important. So that's definitely so a setup looks like, so roughly, if you have a pipeline. What else we can do? If you already add the material to your geometry, by the way, you have this plugin, so you take your Creo or your Creo view file, it doesn't matter. A lot of, you have huge assemblies, for example. A Creo file is probably too big, but a viewable file is tiny. You just drag and drop it in Keyshot, you can reuse it. And then you can add the material, and at the end of the day, surprise, surprise, you can do something like that. You just plug in the VR headset, and then you see something like that. If we have our animation there, if we have multi-material there, it's automatically updated. So there's no code, not at all. So you just use it. By the way, if you have multi-people in there, you can have multi-sessions. You see the people, you can configure them, make them a little bit more colorful. And all the multi-material you have here automatically transferred. If you have kinematics, they are transferred from Creo. So no extra work. You can measure, surprise, surprise. You can use scaling. Sometimes you need to be tiny. For example, if you want to see how kids work in that shop. Or you want to be huge because you just want to have an overview. It's up to you. And you can obviously move around things. This is something we did for a company that's selling sports goods. They want to see you interact with their environment and just put it on the proper solution. We improved a little bit baking and so on. What's a little bit more important for engineering, this is why I added that slide. Typical thing for engineering is I want to have a cut. And as you can see, this is, I think, 1,600 parts or something like that. That's metal. It looks like metal because Keyshot knows this is metal, this is plastic, and so on. If you put the Kinematic in there and you slide through, the Kinematic would still run. So this is how interactive the whole thing is. 3D print, I already talked about that. Dropped it a little bit. More important is 500,000 colors, transparency, roughness. If you have a 2D texture, like in the old days, you know, where we have something like leather structures like this, just 2D, put it on that, and you see it automatically in 3D. You have seen the roughness automatically, which is, I think, quite important. Here you can see, by the way, another 3D object inside of the PowerPoint. Fabrics, I just want to know that's probably not so important for you guys, but even on fabrics you can print these days. Probably never have seen that. Even this is possible. So, you know, it's not rigid like in the past anymore. So it's really easy to do. By the way, you can print rubber as well. So if you have a tool, want to catch that, this is possible. And the size is very, very small. So it's a normal printer. We have one in our Danish office. Sorry, I don't speak Danish or Dutch, but this is pretty cool. So we normally, you know, print out the stuff we need, and we get it in the correct color. We can do physics. Probably Keyshot is a little bit, or Creo has a little bit more challenges. Something like that. We want to fill something. So what we do is we just make, you know, a bunch of coals, put it in the air, and let it drop. Why not? I mean, just this is before and after the rendering, that you get an idea. Or hopefully these the changes and the parts in there moving. It's something you simulate out in Keyshot. You can say, you know, let it drop, let it run, let it see what's going on. So this is something you can do in Keyshot. And by the way, with precise material. That sounds a little bit, or it looks a little bit weird. But if you have something like necklaces, you have to put it somewhere, very precise. What you just basically do, you just put it on top and then you let it go, boom, and here it is. It even still swings, right? This is natural falling, what we call. You know, if you have stack things, try to do this in Creo. I know how it can pattern in Creo. You know, you can remove parts and all that stuff. That was part of the development back then. What you see on the right side, I think, is even more impressive because we let it go. It's a chain. You know, it's basically all rings. They are connected together. And if you look at the detail in the shot, every ring has a different position, and it's correct. It's not that we have, hey, you know, we move it somewhere. We just let it go, then we see it fall, and this is how it looks like. And I think that's a little bit more of a difference. Yeah, we can do deformable animation. I already showed that one. But, you know, that you just got the feeling, if you have a catwalk or something like that, if you need humans, typical interaction, it's a little bit more transparent. You can build your own worlds these days. By the way, most of the animations are done with the laptop I have out there, roughly 2.5K. It's nothing special anymore because the graphic cards, the hardware is there since many, many years. It's getting even more complex these days. Woo, we can even do color, material, and finish. This is how they call it this in the visual world. You would call it bill of material. In the old days, you know, you've just got copper. But what does copper looks like? You know, it could have scratches on it, could be completely different plastic. You know, it's black plastic. What does it mean? You know, how does it look in red and blue and so on? So you get even a rendering and a description and the pricing and all that stuff. This is something you have to deliver as well. Because it's not just only a bill of material that's called steel. Yeah, stainless steel could be a lot of things, right? So we can even do that. If we do design like this, we can automatically push this on the web. So with a few, you know, with one mouse click, basically, you can put it on the web. This is what you see there. In addition to that, we can even push it on the web view, which is three-dimensional. You can now use your mobile phones or just take the codes that I have out there. And what you see there is basically a 3D model. You can watch, and it's a high quality. You can even combine that with high visual pictures, same link, by the way. And you can even combine that with a 3D animation, if it should come. It's not moving anymore. Crashed. So you can even say that Keyshot crashes PowerPoint. So can we go back to the last slide? Oh, okay. Yeah, here I can't see it here anymore. That's interesting. Okay. So where I am, so I have to turn up. Yeah, this is something I just wanted to show, very high quality. And something, by the way, if you publish that in a link, so you're completely independent, you can use it in a web viewer. But in addition to that, if you have a Quest or a Quest Pro, you just go onto the QR code and you have something like that. So you do not need a high-end VR system anymore. You just send out a link, and the customer decides if you want to have augmented reality or virtual reality. So it doesn't matter. We just send out a link. You can have, 3D, and I think this is a little bit more impressive. I think this is a Quest Pro. Same situation. It's a so-called mixed reality. So it could have augmented, virtual, or mixed reality. It depends on your hardware. We don't care about hardware. It's just you get the link. You can use the browser. You can use your mobile phone. You can use your virtual reality headset and so on. Pretty cool. At the end of the day, we are doing a lot of funny things. And just to summarize it a little bit more showreel. So this is stuff we are doing for our customers. Once again, you see a lot of these pictures and animations more or less every day from Garmin, from On Running Shoes, from Tommy Hilfiger, all the manufacturers of cars, they all use Keyshot these days. And I think it's quite easy, let's say, to share information, make it visual digital. It's all about communication. Digital twin, I think that's the story. And it doesn't end up in the engineering world, it ends up in marketing, communication, documentation, light simulation, and so on. So thank you very much. Hopefully it was not so boring.